Hello everyone, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty, and being the last Friday of the month, it is a mixed media hop day. So I've been participating in the Mixed Media Frenzy group for a little while, and they have a hop on the final Friday. And here is our inspiration piece. Now this piece is far more intricate and layered than what I usually do, so I'm gonna see what comes out when I create based on this project. The first thing I do is to prep my background with gesso, and I was running kind of low on gesso, so I'm hoping that there's enough to kind of give me a good coat so it doesn't soak my paper. And then I'm going to use these photos that I have, and they're not great photos, but it's what I could get from my phone camera through my kitchen window of a flicker at our suet feeder, and I love watching the birds, so this always makes me happy when I see an uncommon visitor to our feeder. Now, I've cropped these photos into a circle. If you don't have, photo editing ability to do that, you could always use a circle punch on your photos, or a set of nesting circle dies would work great for that. And then I'm ready to start building the structure of my layout. So I wanted to nest my title against these photos, so that's where I begin this layout. And I'm using a kit of products that I put together myself based on the Counterfeit Kit Challenge group, and I will leave links both to the Mixed Media group and the Counterfeit Kit Challenge group so that you have the resources there should you want to explore these. Now what I'm doing with my mixed media, and this is why I use gesso, is I'm just applying ink pads straight to my background, and they look like messy squares, but the magic happens when you add water to them. And again, this is why the gesso, because if you had a plain sheet of cardstock, the cardstock will soak up that ink right away and leave those square impressions. So I give it plenty of water to get some color flowing, and I just kind of let it do its thing. Now I do have this paintbrush here to sop up any puddles that are a bit too big, and I'm using my heat tool to kind of direct the color into strong puddles of saturated color. And then I move on to layers of embellishing, and so I'm using cardstock from my kit to create these flowers, and I'm punching 3 to 4 layers from this little flower punch, inking the edges, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue them all together and layer them up. I also have that bird paper in the background that I am going to fussy cut a whole bunch of elements out of. And I was so glad that I added this bird paper to this kit because it worked perfectly for this layout. And now we're back with all of those flowers that I've created. I did use some different shades of pattern paper in there from that, and I added buttons to the center of some. I added glitter Nuvo drops to the center of some. Pardon my kitty, he's been my crafty buddy a lot lately. So I've had, where was I? Enamel, there he goes again. Enamel dots to the center of some of my flowers. And so I've got lots of these flowers, and I'm hoping it's enough to create the fullness that I want to get from the layout based on the inspiration piece. Okay, before I add those flowers, I'm going to do a little more mixed media here, and this is something I have been loving lately, and that's using my Nuvo drops through stencils. And just the quickest tip I have for you on this is to work quickly, because those Nuvo drops dry actually way faster than I thought they would, and so you want to wash this off your stencil quickly. I did use a little bit of that leftover to give a little stamped impression from that stencil, but it had already started drying, so I went and washed that stuff off right away. And then once everything is dry, I am ready to start building up my layers. And I start with my title because I want to make sure that I've got all of the room and spacing that I need for that. And because this is mixed media on top of gesso, I do add extra glue to all of my letters, even though, the wood veneer is not sticker letters, but these sticky puffy letters do have their own adhesive, but I'm worried it's not enough for this. With my title complete, I am ready to move on to the embellishing. So I want to start layering up these flowers and these little cut apart. I've got birds and nests and a birdhouse, And I'm going to add some layers of twine in there just because it reminds me of the texture of the bird nests. And so I get all of that adhered down where I want it to go, and I take a step back and I look and I realize the title with the wood veneer is kind of the only wood element going on this page. So I flip over that bird pattern paper, and on the back is a wood grain. So I punch out some circle shapes there, and that is another way to give me a few more layers to my photos because they are a little stark against that background. So I do add some layer and texture using that wood veneer paper to behind my photos. Once I've got all those layers in place, I'm adding a few more bits because that inspiration piece was super layered. I really don't usually work this way, but I'm trying. So that's the fun of using an inspiration piece, is to see what your normal style can do and where it can go that kind of pushes your limits a little bit. And this is what I typically do. I finish off a busy layout, often with a border, and I love journaling on the edges, and that seemed to work perfectly for this layout since there was no other room for that. So I did manage to get what I wanted to say all around the edge of this layout, and I will leave you with a few close-up photos of this one, trying to show you all of that color and detail. I hope you enjoyed this layout, and remember, this is a blog hop or a YouTube hop. There's some Instagrammers in there too, so I have a link of all of the crafters on this hop listed for you below, so be sure to go check out everybody and leave everybody a little bit of kind love on their projects. And I will be back next week. It will be May, with a little bit of a different schedule because I've got a busy life in May, and I will tell you more about that on the 1st.